There was another name that you had mentioned to me that, if they choose to make a change, may end up having the most promising outlook of any of the teams that we've mentioned. Kyle, Crabbs and Drae Harris of the Draft Network. And Drae, we're getting close to the end of the season, and Black Monday coming up is never a fun day in the NFL. But there's a lot of teams that have actually gotten a head start on this process, and a number of coaching vacancies that we already know about, a couple other coaching vacancies that we're anticipating based on the play this season, we'll see as well. So this next hiring cycle, put yourselves in the shoes of a prospective would-be head coach. What job speaks to you when you look at what jobs are available right now in the NFL?
I think that first and foremost, I think that Joe, our colleague, did an outstanding job highlighting the pros and cons of each job. But I think when considering the best job, I don't necessarily think the cap space is a huge factor because you ideally want to build a team through the draft. So I think that the most important things you would look for is cohesion with ownership and a quarterback. And so I think that being said, the Falcons' job is very intriguing with Matt Ryan, who still is proving that he has some left in the tank, and probably just need to ideally rebuild that defense and the position that they have with the ownership. Blank and Tomlin are on the competition committee, and my sources tell me that Tomlin is really pushing hard behind the scenes for Morris to keep that job, and he's certainly done an outstanding job. So, of course, you have to think about that job. With the Falcons, of course, Deshaun Watson makes the Houston job, intriguing. And so there are a few things to consider as far as pros and cons for a few of the jobs that are currently available.
Yeah, I think that Atlanta job is really interesting when you think about Raheem and how young he was when he got his opportunity in Tampa Bay. And, you don't see a ton of guys get second chances, but with what Raheem has done this season and kind of energizing a team that was so flat before they made the change, it's been really fun to watch kind of that team get a little bit of life back into them, and to have the victory that they had over a playoff hopeful team in the Raiders, who needed that football game to keep pace in the AFC conference standings. Like, that's as good of a statement win, not just because they won the game, but the way in which they won the game.
No question, and certainly, a team takes on the attitude and the mantra of its leader, and he, of course, is a guy who's very vibrant, and someone who has seemingly injected life into that team at a critical moment. So you can't necessarily understate, the job that he's done since he's been there.
So we also know about an opening up in Detroit, and that's, you talking about quarterback and ownership is two things as a potential head coach, both kind of wild cards, right? Because they've kind of teased that there may be a potential to move on from Matt Stafford. This team and the roster with where they are at might be the best opportunity for them to try to progress and get back to being a contender, would be to move on from him. And then ownership is total wild card because, the recent change there, nobody really knows what ownership is thinking in Detroit because there's no track record there. So
Sure.
that's a big mystery and somewhat of a wild card because there's so many different directions that Detroit can go.
Absolutely. And for the reasons that you just named, I think that makes the Detroit job the least desirable for me. And if you think about it, they haven't really had, they're not really a franchise that's synonymous with having success. So I think that there's a lot going against you if you choose the Detroit job for the reasons that you just said. And the one thing they have going in their favor is Matt Stafford, and he may be quite possibly on his way out, as well. So for me, that definitely makes that the least attractive job, in my opinion.
Your eyes set on Atlanta of the established jobs, but there are other jobs that we're anticipating seeing, whether that be Jacksonville, who seems like on a collision course with a 1-15 season, and the New York Jets, who seem like they're on a collision course with an 0-16 season at this point. And there was another name that you had mentioned to me that, if they choose to make a change, may end up having the most promising outlook of any of the teams that we've mentioned.
Sure. I think that there are, a few pros to each of the three teams that you just said. Of course, with the Jaguars, they're, essentially a blank canvas. You get to choose your own quarterback. You get to choose one of the top three guys in this year's draft. Um, and the Jets, of course, seemingly could be on their way up. But the outlier for me, the game changer, the X factor for me would be if the Chargers decide to move on from Anthony Lynn. And of course, you have a young quarterback in Herbert who's having an outstanding season. You've got young pass rushers on the opposite side. And Ingram and with Joey Bosa, so I think you have some pieces there to work with. Most importantly, they have Herbert, man, who has played outstanding, and that would definitely be the game changer for me. So if that job comes available, it jets to the top for me.